All right, all right. I'm Senator Hubert Bass of the Afrodescendant Nation, and I thought I'd come on tonight, make a short video, as short as possible. It's a nice night out here, but I wanted to kind of expound upon some things. As you know, some of you know that I am a former elected official in the state of Arkansas. I spent 10 years in elective office, where I spent 2 years on the West Memphis, Arkansas City Council, and I spent 8 years on the county legislative body in Arkansas called the Quorum Court. In 2018, I didn't run again. I didn't seek re-election, and I came off the court in 2019. And I wanted to kind of expound upon some things. Like I said, I call this Politics 101. And I want to talk about the thinking of elected officials, and particularly black elected officials. So when we're asking them to do things for us as a people, let's say like the Congressional Black Caucus, who put party before their people. And that's usually the case whether it's the Congressional Black Caucus or local politicians, state level politicians. You know, in the past, I've been involved, before I got into politics, I was involved in community activism. I was a member of several black community organizations. And we did things. We made threats to politicians about getting them out of office. We exposed them. We did a number of things. We put out, I guess you could say, information about what they were doing and what they wasn't doing. Let me just say that just generally doesn't work in as far as getting that politician to do what's right by his community and by his people. If he has made up his mind and made a decision to place his loyalties somewhere else, then that's where his loyalties lie. Whether, you know, for whatever reason, say he may have been paid money, you know, and being given money to be a part of abandoning, I could say, his community. Now, if you want that politician to, let's just say, support reparations, and he's not, well, first of all, he's not going to. Second of all, if you want him to, if there's a chance for him to do that, you will have to pay him. And this is how it works. I'm not saying it's right. This is not I'm not making the point that this is the right thing. I'm telling you, this is how it works. Again, I spent 10 years in elected politics. I've won races, I've lost races. I've ran races that I didn't win, and I've ran races that I did win. So I'm saying to you that in the political arena, whether it's local or even on the national level, let's give you an example, the NRA, the National Rifle Association. How do you think they get legislation passed? Think about that. Well, they send lobbyists to Capitol Hill, and I'm just going to break it down for you. They end up paying their way to get what they want. They pay the politicians in different forms, but they pay them. The pharmaceutical companies, they pay politicians. And I'm not even saying that's right. You know, it shouldn't be that way, obviously. But unless you got capital, these politicians are not going to pay you any attention. Now, you have to have something that they respect. So if you don't like what they're doing and you want to try to reform, that system, you're going to have money. Even if you say, well, I'm not going to pay these politicians anything. Okay, fine. Then you got to find somebody to run against them And guess what you still got to do? You still got to have that money, because you got to pay for campaigning. You got to pay different expenses. It becomes expensive. And you're up against, if you're talking about state and national politics, you're up against the party, the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, because that party is going to fund the person that not going to support reparations. You know, there's a small chance that you can get that person out of office even if you don't have as much money, but again, I say it's a small chance. Now again, this is how it works, but that's not gonna really solve our problems. I think these reparation states that are looking at reparations, let me just say this: they already know what they owe us. If they have already done the math. The government scholars have already done the math. So it's kind of a game that they're playing with us, and it's just buying them some time. I would say it's buying them some time. My belief is when it comes to reparations, it's kind of a two-tier thinking. On the international level, I think we have to hold this plebiscite. It's a national vote. They're saying that we want reparations. Basically, it's, if you check the description of this video, it'll be in there, and I want you to take that vote for the plebiscite. And I believe that we have to solidify our position and make our case in the International Court of Justice. Now, once we do that, they can't enforce anything. But once we get the ruling, before the world's eyes, we're justified in taking aggressive revolutionary action in terms of economic sanctions. So this is where I think we should be going next, to educate our people on being disciplined and to participate in economic sanctions and the reason why. Because if we do that and we do it effectively and we don't let up, we will get corporations and even the government to ask us to come to the table to sit down. You're not going to get that by antagonizing individual politicians. You can't outspend them. You can't outjive them. Because again, I said in a meeting I was in today, a Zoom meeting, when you make threats to politicians in terms of getting them out of office, you're assessing their behavior, but that politician is going to assess you. And what they're going to assess is, do you have the capability to make me do what I don't want to do? See, you can make politicians do what they don't want to do if you have the capability. But if you don't have that capability, then that's what they're going to check for. And if you don't have that, then they're just not going to pay you any attention. They'll shuck and jive you, but they're not going to pay you any attention. And I'm just talking from, being a politician. I spent 10 years in elective office, and I watched these politicians, black politicians, that had no interest in representing their communities in anything positive. And you couldn't get them to do it. You couldn't appeal to any more character because they didn't have any. You couldn't, they would admit privately that they should be doing more, but they won't because they was in a comfortable spot, So they're not going to do it unless you can pay for it, which is wrong, but it's the way it is. I don't think, wasting time, I should say, if we don't have the capital to get what we want out of them or to replace them, just kind of irritating and agitating them, that's not going to get us what we want, in my view. I think we could do that as long as You know, if you wanted to do that, you don't have to do that, but if we wanted to do that, we could do that too. But as long as we're focusing on economic sanctions. See, this system only responds to two things, and that is the taking of life and the taking of money, just to be very simple about it. And you can see that, as I said earlier, in this government's position on its enemies. If they don't resort to physical force, they resort to monetary force, or what they call economic sanctions. And black people spend about $1.2 trillion in the United States on different things that we really don't need. So I think we would be better off focusing on economic sanctions and educating our people on economic sanctions against certain corporations, against certain industries. The Civil War and the Civil Rights Movement, the outcomes of those, and even the start of those, was had to do with economics. You know, the Civil Rights Movement, the Civil Rights Bill, and the Voting Rights Act, none of that came out of a moral conscience of America. That came from the boycotts and economic sanctions that brought people to the table. See, you can't appeal to the moral conscience of someone who's done all manner of evil against you. They know exactly what they've done to us. And trying to appeal to their moral conscience is not going to work. Even the some black elected officials, you can't shame them. They won't be shamed. For example, Tim Scott. You think Tim Scott doesn't know that he's being called out, being called a sellout? He knows that. Have it changed anything? He get emails, I'm sure. People talking. He's probably got, if I Google him, he probably got a lot of, black people calling him a sellout or whatever, right? Don't change his behavior, though, because he don't care. He's comfortable. Now, you could get his attention if you had a super PAC and raised $30-40 million to get him out of that seat. Now, that would get his attention. Other than that, they're not going to pay you any attention. I'm just telling you. As a matter of fact, in my conclusion, I'm going to say this first. But in my conclusion, in Crittenden County, Arkansas, we've called people out. We've put out information on how they sold the black community out. And guess what? The black community voted them into a higher office. Go figure. Now, that's another story for another time. I'm going to write a book about all of this, and, that's my intent. But go figure. Figure that out for, why did they get a higher position when they was already selling out in a lesser position? Think about that for a minute. So anyway, like I said, it's just politics 101, and I want to focus on economic sanctions and educating our people on economic sanctions. They did it back in the 60s. They can do it in the 60s. We can do it now. We just need to be a little bit more disciplined, and if we're more disciplined, we can get what we want. We can bring people to the table. We can do some revolutionary boycotting, revolutionary protesting. And revolutionary protesting, that's just to say, shut the interstates down, shut stuff down. You can't play by their rules and get what you want. Their rules is peaceful protest. Well, we'll be peaceful, but you're gonna have to shut the interstate down. You know why? When you shut the interstate down, you're affecting the economics. You're affecting money, because time is money. When those trucks can't roll, some money being lost somewhere. So it's just those two things that this country understands, and that's all it understands. But we can get reparations, and without reparations, we're going to be finished in this country, because we won't be able to compete. See, white America has a 400-year head start on you and on us. And you can't compete with that. You understand? You can't compete with the immigrants that are coming in here, that they're using our tax dollars to help set them up. And they have something, you know, the help of the government, and they have other things that they do that we don't do that where they will surpass us. We won't be able to compete. So we'll be done. This is our you know, last hurrah. And we're gonna have to do it, or my prediction is we're done. If it don't get done in this generation, we're gonna be done. But but I believe we'll come out with great substance. That's the prophecy. It's all on us though. No one can take what God has planned for us. No one can take that away. Now we can squander it, but no one can take it. So I think my position on record is economic sanctions, and to press on that and to educate our people on economic sanctions, as we also educate our people on the national plebiscite, so that we can do something not only on the national level, but on the international level. And we'll come out with great substance. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your time. Peace.